Hi, hello everybody, Klaire Fluffle here, and this is big! We're starting the top 10 Kirby Soundtracks today, and what better way to start it than the clearest oddball of the bunch. Every other soundtrack on here has been celebrated for their soundtracks in one way or another since launch, but this one, not so much. Not to say everyone hates it or anything, but still, you don't hear people celebrate the Mass Attack soundtrack like you do, say, Air Ride or Robobot, stuff like that. But I'm about to because I love it a lot. And if you love this video a lot, you know what to do. Give it a like, subscribe, comment below, anything that can help me out. If you want an idea for a comment, you can tell me predictions for what the future rankings are going to be for the soundtrack stuff. This is very exciting. We're in the top 10. Your odds of getting it correct are better and better. If you're feeling super generous, I have a Patreon in the description, and you can get 2-day early access to all of my videos, including these rankings. Fun stuff! Huge thanks to my head-patting Fluffle fan puptrons, Biohazard, Furiel, Tyke Jane, and remember, Miss K says, BAM, you're gay now, less than 3. I love you guys! So, to get the obvious point out of the way, did you guys know that I love the Nintendo DS? I've talked about this a little bit when going over Squeak Squad, and really gushed over it when we talked about Canvas Curse, but I love basically everything about the DS, and to keep it relevant, something about the way this little contraption made music sound just does wonders for my ears. Mass Attack is no different, of course. If anything, I'd argue this is the clearest sounding out of all of Kirby's DS outings. Every other game has some pretty heavy DS crunch, and don't get me wrong, I adore DS crunch, but hearing something so clear and crunch-free, like I'm advertising cereal or something, it sounds fantastic. And don't get me wrong, it's still distinctly DS, which is very important to me, but comparing, say, this game's Squeak Squad theme to Squeak Squad theme, Squeak Squad, the difference is very noticeable. To dive into specifics with the music, we're going to do something that anybody who's ever played this game would easily agree with, and talk about the sub-games first because they're the best part. The tracks for these are absolute bangers, as is everything about these sub-games. It's not my favorite track in the game, but I've played so many hours of Brawl Ball that the tracks heard here have been engraved in my mind. They're really good, and of course, association is real. I hear anything that sounds vaguely close to do-do-do-do-do-do, you know I'm thinking about Brawl Ball. Kirby Quest has a pretty simple theme, but it's super addictive, which fits perfectly for its RPG grindy-mindy set. Strato Patrol EOS has a fun and adventurous feel to it, as you travel throughout the galaxy, and even the simpler stuff like Not Whack-A-Mole has a fun spin to it. Literally everything here is a winner, although if I had to pick a favorite of the sub-game tracks, it would be the music for Survival Rush. It's just such a headbanger. Man, I love this one. Maybe it just helps that it plays after fighting bosses, something that's already on the intense side. I don't know, I mean, it doesn't really matter though, as long as it sounds good and I like it, right? This is already apparent between those two tracks, as well as the stuff I've been playing in the background, but one of Mass Attack's biggest strengths definitely lies in its variety. When you hear first level Kirby music like this, you've heard it all. And I'm not trying to say that this is bad. On the flip side, this is one of my favorite themes in the entire game, one of my favorite first level Kirby music tracks in the series, and I don't want to sell it short. Quite contraire, it's super fun and sells Mass Attack as a concept better than any other track in the game. It's fast, fun, frantic, and wild in a way that Kirby pulls off fantastically. That being said, you hear something like this in a 2011 Nintendo DS Kirby spin-off game, and you don't expect much else beyond this point. And by the time you get to World 4, you're gunning down enemies in a mobile cannon, and this is playing. You've heard such an insane amount of variety in terms of the music, not to mention you've been playing the game for hours because there's a lot packed into this one that, well, I don't know what you do, but the variety of the music is wild. But how did we get here? From fun level 1 music to Something that Mass Attack does that I always like in games is that it uses its music to gradually evolve in feeling throughout the game. What starts as a fun adventure grows in so many different directions, but it never loses sight of where it started. But if the music calls for any kind of feeling throughout the game, Mass Attack delivers. As early as the first world, you find yourself treading through dark, dangerous forests with little wispy trees and spiders and enemy ambushes awaiting you. Many Kirby games would hold back on the atmosphere to provide something more approachable, but Mass Attack doesn't. It's refreshing, not to mention super duper good. Of course, locales like Day-to-Day Resort have a super chill vibe before you play minigames, then going more atmospheric again when traveling underwater. More intense tracks find their way into the game too. I'm a particularly big fan of all of the air ride mixes. They sound great and fit their level themes perfectly. We recently talked about Epic Yarn with its more relaxing music, and hey, you know what, Mass Attack, why not? Let's take some vibes from that here and there. Lovely Oasis is about as lovely as you'd expect music with that name to be. I really want to highlight Day-to-Day Resort here, as I feel like that's the best example of what I'm trying to talk about. At this point, you just finished traveling through a scorching hot desert, which also had some rad tunes of its own. After a boss battle, a lone Kirby makes it to Day-to-Day Resort, an exotic beach filled with fun activities like surfing, card games, and... oh, pachinko, huh. Well, at least the music's good. After you enjoy your time playing these games, get back to a full 10 Kirbys to continue your streak of unabashed mayhem. The fun stops as you travel deep into the ocean, be ambushed by moles, and travel through swampy swamps and get closer to the end. Things get colder at this point, however, as things freeze and you end up in an icy area filled with chillier sounding music, including an excellent remix of Frozen Hillside from Air Ride. I told you these remixes were good. After braving the cold, you find one of Day-to-Day's mini castles, although this one is obviously funded by the crazy money he makes from those addictive games from earlier on. Like Pachinko, yeah. This castle has all kinds of fun obstacles blocking your path, so it's fitting that this track is not only called Fun Castle, but it's, well, fun. After you're done managing your way through another castle of Day-to-Day, you fight the big lug yourself as an incredible range of Day-to-Day's theme plays, one that's become iconic with Mass Attack itself. My point is, Mass Attack's music evolves as the game needs it to. What starts simple and fun grows into something diverse, never afraid to tackle a new style and come out with the memorable track after memorable track. In a way, it's telling its own story, which parallels the actual story of Mass Attack perfectly. What starts as one little Kirby grows into 10 little Kirbys that are equal in size, but also equal in potential of mass destruction. Scary. This ultimately culminates when you reach the final world, Necro Nebula. Level-wise, it isn't much, aside from a basic bunch of boss rematches, but I want to highlight the cutscene music that plays as you enter. It's a triumphant arrange of green greens, one that leaves you hopeful that you'll be able to take down the final boss, the mean dude who turned you into 10 different Kirbys to begin with, Necrodius. The actual music that plays on the world map of Necro Nebula is eerie and lifeless, complementary to that triumphant theme you just heard. The boss rematches go down like normal. You've seen enough to know that splitting Kirby into 10 wasn't the brightest idea. But then, the final boss theme. Which I didn't record footage for, so you'll watch me do something else as I pretend it wasn't me trying to avoid spoilers. What? This is my favorite track in the game. To be frank, this is one of my favorite final boss tracks in the series. Easily in the top 5. I can really only think of 1 or 2 that compare, depending on if we count Mask Daddy Day or not. And the weird part is, this doesn't sound much like Kirby music at all. Now, don't get me wrong, this is from Mass Attack, and it's very easy for that part to click, but I think we all know what Kirby final boss tracks usually sound like. Your Drawsias, your Yin Yarns, your Data Destroyer Z's. I gotta bring that one up because Battle Royale is amazing. But this is joyless. It isn't intense and doesn't give you the motivation to fight on. It's just crushing, defeating, but through the rough thickness of it all, at the very end, the hope shines through. A glimmering light of triumph shines through the power of Necrodius. Don't get me wrong, the DS sound font is like my everything, and I love it from now until the end. But stuff like this, a final boss track that fully reflects everything about the journey you went through up to this point, then crushes you while offering that small bit of energy at the end. And when you beat Necrodius and it's all over, I'll say it straight up, this is another Battle Royale where I have no issues with the soundtrack. No track sounds bad to me. I love the sound font. The music tells a story that ends in a super satisfying way. The variety is insane. Let's not forget that Mass Attack went absolutely wild on the minigames, and they're amazing, and the music is amazing. I mentioned at the beginning that while the other 9 games in the top 10 are, at least in the Kirby community, all really well liked. Respected, praised for what they did and their general high points, all that good stuff. Mass Attack is the odd one out, the hot take that I'm gonna stand by, gosh darn it. To be frank, there will never be another Kirby Mass Attack, ever. This marked the end of so many things. To date, it's the last Kirby game to predominantly use sprites instead of 3D models. It was the last Kirby game for the DS. Shogo Sakai, the main composer of this game this year, retired from HAL and is now freelance. The game itself didn't sell very well, so we're likely not going to get another game in its style. And while future soundtracks were mostly excellent, with some ranking even higher than Mass Attack, meaning, yes, I do like some of the future soundtracks more than this one, just to be as clear as I can, there will never be another soundtrack like this one. It's huge, it's ambitious, it's immediately identifiable, and while I love a lot of Kirby soundtracks in their own unique ways, I love this soundtrack for everything it manages to accomplish. I guess it isn't unique in the I love it regard, but hush. With that, we leave Mass Attack behind. It made top 10, which is crazy given the competition, but there are 9 other soundtracks I just like even more. This is getting exhausting. Not talking about the soundtracks, I love the heck out of these soundtracks, but having to deal with the fact that I'm putting another one of my favorites down so early. At least we don't have very many left, so I won't have to put up with this for much longer. As always, I want to rank it higher, but I see the game we're talking about tomorrow, and yeah, no. But speaking of that game, I need to get to work on that one. So until I see you all again, I've been Klaire. Thank you all so much for watching, and I shall see you around. Bye!